Apologies, any leaves of absence? Do we have any apologies?
Me, Webb.
Other than Mayor Webb, who's on leave. Thank you. The minutes of the previous meeting have been circulated. Do I have a mover to accept those minutes from the previous meeting? Councillor Mears, seconded Councillor North. Disclosures of interest. Councillors, are there any matters tonight that would be... Do we have a... I was just distracted by Ryan moving his... Obviously, microphone.
We're missing the battery over here, but also just to double check, do we need to move and accept the leave of absence?
Yeah.
I might be distracted.
Yeah. The protocol should have been, I'll move those motions be accepted. Now I'm throwing right off.
You need to get somebody to move the apology.
Sorry. Can we have someone please move that the apologies, which is Councillor Webb, the Mayor, to be accepted. Councillor Sharpen, Councillor North, thank you. All in favour? Aye, carried, thank you. Okay, the minutes of the previous meeting, we've been through that. Councillors all in favour. It was moved by Councillor Mears, seconded by Councillor North. All in favour? Aye, thank you. Councillors, disclosures of interest. Do you have any disclosures of interest for tonight's meeting? No, thank you. Councillor Rook, you're right.
I think we're good, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, technical problems there. Thank you. Okay, item 4, mayoral minute. There's no mayoral minute tonight. Item 5, notice of motions. There are no notice of motions tonight. Item 6, item 6.1, Tamworth Regional Precinct Advisory Committee's appointment of additional community members. Councillors will have a mover. Councillor Mark Sutherland, seconded by Councillor Ryan Brook. You wish to speak to that, Councillor Sutherland?
Yes, please, Mr. Chair. Just want to echo the recommendation in itself and congratulate the new appointees of the Precinct Committee, noting that both of the new members are under the age of 25, really highlighting the fact and the role that our youth are playing, not only in the developing of communities, but especially in the development of their own towns in the Precinct Committee. And also just want to mention one of the new members, appointees, is the former youth mayor, Rory Davis, from out of Manila. She was an absolute mover and shaker within the Youth Council, and as one of the councillors sitting on the Manila Precinct Committee, I'm excited to share those conversations and see what that looks like moving forward. So congratulations to those new appointees.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak against that? Any other comments? Councillor, put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Carried unanimously. Item 6.2, proposed road name for an unnamed council road off Nunnall Road, Dungowan. Councillors have a move of the motion. Councillor Sharpen, second Councillor Impey. Councillor Sharpen, you wish to speak to that? Councillors, any comment in relation to that?
Thank you,
Councillor
Mr. Chair. I would just like to... I noticed that in the commentary it refers to the plant being critically endangered, and it'd be interesting to know what impact the EDF project would have on a critically endangered bush adjacent the Dungowan Dam. I mean, obviously you have to probably take it on notice, but I'd be interested to know the impact of that project on that critically endangered plant that exists in the vicinity of that road.
Thank you, Councillor. In the absence of any of our Parks and Gardens experts, unless you... Yeah, we'll take it on notice. Thank you. So, councillors, put that motion 6.2. All those in favour say aye. Raise your hand. Thank you. Carried unanimously. Item 6.3, the Kalala Battery Energy Storage System Draft Voluntary Planning Agreement. Councillors a mover. Thank you, Councillor Sutherland. Seconded Councillor Brook. Councillor Sutherland, you wish to speak to that? No. Okay. Councillors wish to speak against that motion? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the last meeting, I've been thinking about these projects within our LGA generally, And councillors would understand and appreciate that they've had nothing to do with discussions about them in terms of their impact on associated public infrastructure, or very, very little involvement in any discussions involving public infrastructure, including sealed and unsealed roads, bridges, etc. Nor have we been able to stand up for adjoining landholders, our residents, on many of those projects. Generally, we don't know what is proposed at the project's end of life and who pays the remediation costs. If there is a fire, we don't know what plans are in place to protect our residents or environment from poisonous gases emitted during a fire. We aren't thinking about the health implications for our residents. I believe it is assumed that the people of this state will have to remediate these sites, but we aren't thinking that far ahead. They call them state significant developments and are approved by people safely ensconced elsewhere, largely in Sydney. As councillors, we were never invited to participate in discussions about the amount offered to our communities and residents. They aren't compelled to offer much, and the small amounts are not required to be spent in the vicinity of the project and the impacted communities or residents. The former Liberal and National Coalition governments, John Barilaro and Matt Keane, drew up the Renewable Energy Zone maps in 2021 without quarantining land and communities outside the RES footprint. Those parties have done the people of regional and rural New South Wales a great disservice. More and more, we are required to rubber stamp small sums of money for projects outside these reses, yet have little say about who pays for the maintenance of public infrastructure leading to those projects or the impacts to adjoining residents. There's very little on the table, just a Sydney tick of approval and limited buy-in from our residents. And I believe ongoing we'll see the folly of these projects when the alternative energy system is required to load shed villages, towns, cities, regions in rural New South Wales because of lack of capacity.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Councillors, any other comments? Councillor North.
I haven't written anything in long format like Councillor Rodder, and I'll probably be quite blunt about it. I support the motion, but I am bloody frustrated at it. It's out of our hands. I understand that. I understand it's voluntary. I'm frustrated that we get 0.31% of the value of the project when standard practice now is 1%. And we're being dictated to that a percentage of what we're getting given then goes to First Nations people, which I'm happy about. But I believe it should be on top of that chunk of money that goes to council, and as well as the community benefit of $600,000 over 3 years. So I think the community, in all three parts of it, whether it's council, First Nations people, the community benefit scheme, are missing out as a result. And I acknowledge that our hands are tied and that we've done everything we can, but it's a failure of the state government. So as I said, I'm frustrated at that. I will support the motion because it needs to go through.
Thank you, Councillor North. Councillors. Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to stand to support the comments made by Councillor Rodder and North. I think it's an indictment on our previous government and the current one at this stage. They've just forced this upon people. We've got no say as a council either, and it'll affect our infrastructure alone and then the residents. So I think there should be a much more discussion had with those residents and councils. And again, just like to reinforce it's an indictment on both governments.
Thank you, Councillor Mears. Councillors, any further comment? Councillor Sutherland, you
Yes, please, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I agree with the frustration mentioned by Councillor North. I think moving forward with voluntary planning agreements, that we have a policy and that we should be striving for that policy to be met, and 0.31% is not that policy. I think negotiations moving forward should be trying to push closer and closer to that mark. And I believe that is the intent of us moving forward. Just want to raise fact to say that these larger organisations, I believe, do have some kind of commitment, either through internal policy or external policy, to have some kind of economic commitment to First Nations communities. When these projects exist on Crown land and on other land, there are other mechanisms in place for those proponents to speak to traditional owner groups and to go through the native title process or maybe through the land rights process. When it's happening on private property, it's a different conversation. But those organisations still have the motivation and the commitment to supporting Aboriginal community in those spaces. And I think through the work that we've done through the Murray Partnership Agreement, we're providing an avenue now for those proponents to be able to directly support the work in those spaces, which is unique to us as a council and unique through the Murray Partnership Agreement. But I agree with Councillor North in saying that we should be really deliberate in proposing that and explaining that to those proponents to say that this is a pathway that also has to sit on top of that 1% commitment. We shouldn't be coming out of what that commitment is. I think we should be really letting sure that those proponents know that there is a pathway for them to be able to invest in Aboriginal communities, and we can do it through the Murray Partnership Agreement, but it shouldn't be coming out of what is the existing policy moving forward. So if we can somehow write that into things moving forward, I think it'll be a strength of us to be able to negotiate further on in the planning process.
Thank you, Councillor Sutherland and Councillor Impey. I think we've just wrapped up. Yeah, I think we're all conscious of the fact that the VPAs are an issue for all of us, and that's certainly across the state. And we're aware that as councillors, we've made some approaches to make sure that we look at how we deal with our VPAs in the future, what the representation does, it looks like in terms of supporting our staff in those VPAs, and definitely addressing the shortcomings. So thank you very much. Councillors, I'll put that motion 6.3. All those in favour, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Councillor Otter, nay. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Item 7.1, Infrastructure and Services, Tamworth Local Transport Forum. Councillors, I have a Councillor Sharpen. Moved Councillor Sharpen, seconded Councillor Mears. Thank you, Councillor Sharpen. You wish to speak to that?
Only to thank the guys for getting it to us really on time, and some of these events are still ongoing.
Thank you, Councillor Sharpen. Councillors, any councillors wish to speak against that motion? Any councillors like to make comment in relation to that? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr. Acting Mayor. Just an observation in some of the information I read through the reports that were provided through the Transport Forum meetings, and that is the area surrounding the Northgate Shopping Centre, the roundabout on Marius Street and Peel Street, and probably the stretch of road 50, 60 metres, 100 metres either side of that roundabout. It is an interesting intersection. It's an intersection that a lot of people have talked about as being somewhat of a painful intersection at times, but I do think if people drive to the conditions, I think the intersection itself is not an unsafe intersection for drivers. However, it's a different story for residents who are looking at and pedestrians, is what I was trying to think of. I did read in one of the reports that unfortunately a student was involved in an accident. I do hope that student is on the mend and okay. I read in the minutes that there is the forum strongly suggested council raise the site with Transport for New South Wales with the hope of getting the intersection upgraded to traffic signals. I think it's important to note that in a council meeting that myself as a councillor, and I'm sure the others would agree, that we would express our support in council in pursuing that process so that we can improve the pedestrian safety in that particular part of Tamworth. It is a very busy intersection and will only get busier as Tamworth continues to grow north of Tamworth, Strath Eden, Forest Hills, and I think it probably adds extra weight to the conversation that we need to have as a council with the state government on providing a second vehicular access point between North Tamworth and Oxley Vale with the Taminda and the industrial area, as both those precincts continue to grow. We're seeing growth in North Tamworth and Oxley Vale, and we're seeing growth in Taminda and beyond Taminda in our industrial area as well. And with that comes huge increases in traffic flows. And I think at some stage, just as they do in areas of Sydney, many areas of Western Sydney. They build the roads first and the population comes. And why is Tamworth any different? But perhaps the state government should think about building the road now before the population becomes too great for Manila Road and Peel Street and that intersection and other areas of that part of Tamworth.
Thank you, Councillor Impey. Councillors, Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a question and then a matter arising. First of all, I note the excellent outcome in relation to Ebsworth Street, the surface and pavement, fantastic. And I've been asked by residents, why can't that be repeated on other roads that are being upgraded, such as like Carthy Street? I actually thought it was probably going to be hot mix, but it ended up being just a typical pebbly surface. And I think, just people have been asking me why we can't repeat that sort of surface repair on other roads that are being upgraded. And should I do matter arising now as well?
So you want to answer that question? Sure.
Yeah.
Director at Regional Services.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. That's just simply a cost thing, Councillor Otter. That money for Ebsworth Street was provided by the state government. I think Mark might correct me, but I think it was for natural disaster resilience, and we were able to do Ebsworth Street. It ticked the box, and we did Ebsworth Street. We just haven't got the funds to do that sort of treatment on other local roads within the council area.
Is that because of that profile machine that actually seems to slice off the road surface? And I don't know whether it's reused or
Stabilisation.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure whether it was a mill and fill or whether it was a heavy asphalt lift. Mark might know the answer to that. Mark.
Yeah, so that's to do with asphalt on Ebsworth Street. So there's 250 millimetres of asphalt down there, which costs a hell of a lot more than traditional granular pavement. And asphalt wearing course costs a hell of a lot more than a bitumen spray. Yeah, so as Peter already mentioned, we cannot afford to do that on our local roads unless we have state government financial assistance.
Thank you.
And just quickly, the matter arising was at approximately 46 Robert Street in South Tamworth, a new streetlight pole was erected. There was a couple actually. There was some sort of a little minor safety upgrade occurred there, but they put a new pole immediately in front of a variable warning sign for kids as you approach St Ed's School, and it's partially blocked now by that pole. And I was just wondering whether I could take it on notice whether that variable sign will be actually relocated in front of the pole, just to enhance safety of kids and the people approaching that during the morning and afternoon school drop-offs and pickups.
I assume you have to take that question on notice unless you want to respond.
Yeah, I'll take that on notice, Mr. Mayor. If it's a variable sign, you're talking about a permanent sign, Councillor Otter, or variable?
It's solar powered or solar.
Oh, okay.
And they flash. It's got the flashing lights that turn on.
We'll take it on notice. Thank you. Councillors, any further comments? Councillors, I'll put item 7.1. All those in favour say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, item 7.2, Nundle State Forest harvesting on land managed by council. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Sharpham, second or Councillor Mears? Councillor Sharpham, wish to speak to that? Councillors, anyone wish to speak against that motion? Any comments, councillors? Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. I didn't find it in the body of the report, although it does talk about the sustainable forest management. Is the intent to replant once this is harvested? And if so, whose responsibility is it?
We might put that to Mr. Logan. Are you able to respond to that?
Mr. Chair, not aware of whether the intent is to replant. It's natural vegetation, so I don't know that they replant natural forests, but I don't know. And I can answer the last bit. If they are replanting, it's the State Forest's responsibility to do so.
Thank you.
Councillor Mears, thank you. Councillors, any other comments? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Just a question also in relation to Lot 13 in DP7 55339, which is on the boundary of TRC and Walker Shire Council at Nyangla. Could someone advise if this perpetual lease parcel is cleared? I've been asked, will it clear the way for Energy Co power lines? And the other question was, why is it still perpetual lease? Would it have been paid out, or it's still money's owing?
Thank you, Mr. Logan.
Mr Chair, I can't answer the question about whether it's going to be used as clearing lines for power. I would say no, but it doesn't have to be. The Energy Co has sufficient powers to acquire easements for energy for power lines. It doesn't have to rely on the state forest, but I don't know the answer to that. And the second part is it's perpetual lease in council, so council pays the lease payments. It's just like a 99-year lease that the Crown has given to council to manage this this parcel of land, or these parcels of land, and they go on indefinitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just sorry, there was one final thing in relation to clearing of those parcels. They're in the vicinity of the public catchment, part of the catchment to Dungowan Dam. Will there be efforts to maintain or control the siltation that might occur from the removal of those vegetation?
Director.
Yes, Mr Chair, we did ask about that, and it's not clear felling, so we don't believe that it's going to have significant impact on water quality in Dungowan Dam.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Brook.
Thanks, Mr Chair. As I think you could probably imagine, I have various opinions about this item, but I'll spare council those tonight. What I will do is perhaps assist in answering some Councillor Mears' questions through way of comment. I believe its scale and intensity of the logging hasn't actually been stated by Forestry Corp, which I think is a worry in of itself. Also, I'd note that Forestry Corp actually has to publicly advertise any logging activities they do in state forests. To my knowledge, this is actually the first time this has been publicly shared that logging activities will happen in these parcels of land.
Thank you, Councillor Brook. Councillors, any other comments? Thank you. Councillors, item 7.2. You're doing that? Sorry. No. I'll put that recommendation. Those in favour say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Councillor Brook, abstain. No from Councillor Brook. Thank you.
Procedurally, Mr Mayor, against.
Repeat, sorry?
Against, rather than abstain.
Against it, yeah, of course. Against, not abstaining. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Item 7.3, pedestrian safety improvements at Jack Smythe Drive. Councillor Tahoe, mover. Councillor Ryan Brook.
Thanks, Mr Chair. I'd actually like to move that motion, well, an alternative to the recommendation, which would be to retain the text of the recommended motion, but switch option 2 to option 3, and add in the words at the end of the text, and densify the plantings in the remaining vegetated areas. And I'll speak to that if I have a second.
So let's just get that up there.
Yeah.
So that now becomes the motion.
Just to correct the wording up there, and densify rather than intensify. Intensify would work, yeah.
Okay, so
That doesn't quite
In the
remaining.
in the remaining.
So that was in the remaining vegetated areas.
Okay.
In the remaining. In the remaining.
Apologies, I didn't assist staff by sending us ahead of time.
In.
I know.
Okay, so that now becomes the motion. Is there a second for that motion? Councillor Mears. Councillor Brook, you wish to speak to that motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. The rationale is pretty straightforward. I think that avenue is probably a good example of something I'd like to see more of within our LGA. Noted that we do have to, unfortunately, clear part of that for sight lines and safety reasons, or we've been asked to do that by Transport for New South Wales. That's fair enough. But for me, rather than taking the recommendation of option 2 to go through and do significant work through there to level the mound and create featured garden beds, I would like us to retain what we have there. And the additional words I've added in comes from the thinking that, for the areas that we do have to clear and for the roundabout, there is existing plans that we work on to try to transplant. It would make sense to me to transplant those into the area that is going to remain if this gets up. But also, I think something that we could do is, like, there has been concern raised in the report about weeds in that particular medium. I would raise that if we replace that with turf, we're still going to have the weed issue. But I think a better way to counteract the weed issue would be to, like I said, densify the plantings there and actually smother out those weeds with the additional ground coverings. Overall, I think having that as, especially with that avenue being really a bit of a feature avenue, being on the entrance of town, being in our sports and entertainment precinct and being a major avenue through there, I'd rather see, rather than just a plain, boring strip of grass that it's going to look pretty average as soon as it gets a bit dry and as soon as that grass dies anyway, I'd like to see that be sort of something that's sort of vibrantly planted out, something that adds to biodiversity values. And I think if we were to enhance what we got there, that could be a good avenue for a good model for what we could potentially do in other avenues going forward.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone wish to speak against that? Councillors, comments in relation to that? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support option 3 as opposed to the recommended option, purely because it's significant removal of native plants, which really are quite aesthetically pleasing in that area, and I think add to the charm of the region. And I agree 100% that those that are required to be removed because of sight lines and distances should be used in other parts of that medium strip and the adjoining garden beds that are looking pretty sad at the moment. I think it's required that it needs an upgrade to the watering systems all around there. But in terms of the plants that are currently there, particularly in the roundabout on Jack Smyth Drive and Ringers Road, the xanthorrhoeas that have actually almost self-sown themselves, I mean, they're quite a protected species, and I think that we should do what we can to remove as many of those and replant along that, like Councillor Brooks has said. The same for the Lomandra and cycads, where many of those were in good health. I think if we reversed and adopted option 2, I believe it presents a disappointing outcome for our community, and would be detrimentally impact the aesthetics of the ALEC, and I cannot support it. So yeah, my preference is for option 3 as recommended by Councillor Brook.
Thank you, Councillor Rodder. Councillors, any other comments? Thank you, councillors. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Thank you. Moved unanimously. Councillors, next item 8.1, sundry debtor write-off for 25-26. Councillors, can I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Sutherland, second to Councillor Mears. Councillor Sutherland wishes to speak to it?
No, Mr.
Councillors, anyone wish to speak against that? Councillors, comment? Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to reinforce that council's done everything they can to recover these. It's something out of our control. We do get a lot of residents saying, why are we letting these people off? But I can assure them that the council's done everything possible, including legal, to recover these outstanding amounts. And we're at the point where it's going to cost us more to recover them than it is what the value is there. So I do support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mears. Councillors, any other comments? I'll put the recommendation. Councillors, all those in favour, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously, thank you. Councillors, that ends irregular matters. We're now going to move into closed council. Councillors, could I get a motion to move into closed council, please?
I'd just like to ask why this matter is actually not in open like it was at the meeting 2 weeks ago. Why are we now slipping it into closed instead of hearing it in open?
Certainly. Mr. Logan, could...
Mr Chair, councillors, should the council elect that they want to negotiate, they may want to give the Mayor and General Manager some criteria about which they are prepared to negotiate around, and not appropriate for those to be discussed in open council when the other party can hear them.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Thank you. Councillors, are there any further comments? Councillors, I put that... I'll just need a motion, thank you, to move into closed council. Councillor Sharpen, second Councillor North. Thank you, members of the public, for attending. We'll now go into a closed council session. Thank you. Everyone's gone. Thank you. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor, this is to report of the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 11th of August 2026. In closed council this evening, you considered one item of business, and for that item, you adopted the recommendation as per your business paper.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Councillors will call the meeting to a close. Thank you.